This is Cardinal Chito Tagle. Join me every week on The Word Exposed on Air, here on the Voice of the Blue Eagle, Radio-Katipunan 87.9 FM, the Ateneo Campus Radio.
The Voice of the Blue Eagle, radyo-katipunan 87.9. Meron? Ano nga ba ang meron? Paano nga bang mabuhay ng tapat sa meron? Don't you wish you can relive your philo classes? The terror teachers? The terrible oral exams? Or the even terrifying but liberating and life-changing aha moments? Lundagin mo, baby! Here's your chance! Lundagin mo, baby! Kasama ang mga pilosopong sina Jovi Miroy at Ron Capinding. Lundagin mo, baby! Leaping upward, leaping forward. Lundagin mo, baby! Leaping to greater heights, to greater wisdom, to greater magis. Lundag na, Ateneo!
Do you have concerns or problems about the school? Pag may dilemma, huwag mag-alala.
Sabihin sa sango. Pag may dilemma, huwag mag-alala.
Locate our boxes around campus and simply fill out the forms in the stations. Drop them in the box and boom, you're done. You can also fill out our forms online.
Sabihin sa sango.
This is a service brought to you by your Sangu. Pag may problema, huwag mag-alala.
Racism and discrimination are spreading alongside the new coronavirus. Remember that the virus has no ethnicity, no gender, nor social class. Let's stand together as one community of human beings and flatten the curb of racism. Our diversity can unite us for a better, more inclusive and peaceful world. During the COVID-19 outbreak, only trust official information sources and credible media outlets. Do not share unverified information. This is a message from UNESCO.
Jescom Music Ministry. Music that uplifts the soul. Follow jescom.ph on Spotify and Jescom Music on YouTube. We are also on iTunes and Deezer.
Kaibigan, alam mo na ba kung ano ang mga karaniwang sintomas ng COVID-19? Ito ay ang mga sumusunod: lagnat, pagkapagod, at dry cough. Habang sa ilan naman ay sipon at baradong ilong, sore throat o diarrhea. May ilan naman na wala pang sintomas, pero pwede pa rin nilang maipasa ang virus sa iba. Kung ikaw ay nasa mga lugar kung saan kumakalat ang COVID-19 o kaya may close contact sa mga taong kumpirmadong may COVID-19 o sa mga nag-aalaga sa kanila, ipagbigay alam ito sa health worker sa inyong barangay. COVID-19, kayang-kaya nating tapusin.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
If it's entertainment you crave,
catch us on New Wave.
Surfing through the latest on our shores.
Every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m.
See you there.
Three o'clock prayer. You died, Jesus, but the source of life flowed out for souls, and the ocean of mercy opened up for the whole world. O fountain of life, immeasurable divine mercy, cover the whole world and empty yourself out upon us. O blood and water, which flowed out from the heart of Jesus as a fountain of mercy for us, I trust in you. Holy God, Holy Mighty One, Holy Immortal One, have mercy on us and the whole world. Holy God, Holy Mighty One, Holy Immortal One, have mercy on us and the whole world. Holy God, Holy Mighty One, Holy Immortal One, have mercy on us and the whole world. Amen. Jesus, King of Mercy, we trust in you.
Radyo-Katipunan. News, insights, inspiration. Radyo-Katipunan. Down from the hill and down to the world. Radyo-Katipunan, the voice of the Blue Eagle. Radyo-Katipunan, 87.9 FM. The voice of the Blue Eagle, radyo-katipunan 87.9.
Radyo, 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 radyo.
Voice of the Blue Eagle, kami di mapipigil sa pagbabalitang tumpak at tama. Buhay atenista, sa loob sa labas ng eskwela, ating ibibida lahat ng pwera.
It's time to level up! Your talk variety program showcasing the best in media and other fields. As we feature the most loved personalities and the best practices of what we truly refer to as Magis. Together with multi-awarded multimedia guru Mr. Noel Ferrer, let's all level up every Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. here on radyo-katipunan 87.9 FM.
Sir, before.
Yeah.
Sana hindi pa kayo pagod, sir. Sabi ko, this will be a relaxing one now. Anyway, all good already, all the best. And when you say the best, we have the best systems person in government. Brilliant, actually. He is Joey Salceda, the son of the former Palanggi Albay mayor. This Mayor Jesus Salceda. He graduated cum laude lang naman ng Bachelor of Science in Management Engineering lang naman dito sa Ateneo. You have to correct this. Is it 1982 or 1981, sir? In some sources kasi they say 81.
October 81.
October 1981. And received his master's degree in business management at the Asian Institute of Management. He's currently the congressman of Albay and one of the most trusted persons, especially when it comes to, for me, numbers. He's brilliant at it, systems and all. We have here Representative or Congressman Joey Salceda. Hello, sir. Good afternoon. Finally, you're here at Radyo Katipunan. Kumusta po kayo? I know you had a long day of all interviews. I monitored everything. When was the last time that you're here in Ateneo?
Also for Magis, actually.
For Magis, yes, sir. For what? For an education program, no?
Together with Pinoy, basically. So we were both guests, but they're separate venues.
Yeah. And later, we'll talk about him being your classmate and GMA as your teacher. But then, sir, dami mong guestings. Kumusta ka? Ganun lang. Well, it's one Atenean talking to another Atenean I was in Bicol also. I just came from Bicol for the kickoff of the Lenny campaign. And one of the highlights there was you. Well, you being there and Chisa Escudero being there too. So, sir, I felt the vibe there in Bicol and nakita ko, sir, kung gaano nagrarally yung mga tao for your parang anak ng Bicol. Oh, you can say that, no? Iba nga lang yung itsura ni Ma'am Lenny doon, no? May mga mahaba yung buhok. Sabi ko sa Camarines Norte, maiksi yung buhok niya. Sa Camarines Sur, mahaba. Pero magkaiba yung pero otherwise, sir, what's your assessment of the proclamation of Ma'am Lenny there in Bicol?
I think essentially in Albay, where everybody set aside our rivalries and both the governor and his rival, the entire Sangguniang, all of the 18 mayors and their rivals, just come together and show the support to Lenny.
Ang galing nga, sir. At sinabi, tara na, ipanalo natin to. Sir, may pag-asa bang manalo? Given the numbers that we have now, of course, we'll say matagal pa naman. It's still, we have 87 days pa bago yung eleksyon. No? So, And with the numbers of the surveys, ang ganda nga ng pagkakasabi mo kanya, I monitored your mga interviews. This is a time also to like get to the people, get to the ground. At saka surveys are just parang a snapshot of what's happening at a certain point. Sir, yung trajectory ba aabot dun sa, well, ninanais natin?
If everybody who loves his country basically does what is necessary, I think there is a pathway to victory for Lenny, or for good.
Ang ganda.
Essentially, to win. I think it's really, I think we should move away from the strategic ambiguity right now and go to the strategic clarity where good is good and bad and right is right. So I think many people, like for example, Estela Kimbo is now also openly for Lenny. Ako, openly for Lenny. And I would think that there are many other persons who, I'm not saying that they just because you're for the other side, but I think it's always time. It's never too late to love your country, and the way to love your country is to vote for the candidate that will truly represent the confidence and as well as confidence in the future of the Filipino.
Sir, kinikilabutan ako dyan kasi parang hardly do people talk about that now, but that's our Ateneo heart there too. No? Parang going for love of country, something beyond ourselves. Because you see people uniting despite their political differences. And one of the things that you said was, this opens the floodgates for local and national leaders who don't have presidential candidates to choose VP Lenny as their president like you, no? Let's go through your criteria, sir. Number one, sabi nyo, malinis ba? So we talk about character, which is very Atenean too, no? So, ano sir yung pinagbasehan nyo dun sa character, sir?
Syempre, mga kaso, COA reports. So there are enough objective basis or empirical basis to judge each of the candidates.
Yes.
Not beyond suspicions and beyond the intrigues. You go through it. And hindi lang yung, kasi si Lenny wala kang makita kahit walang bahid at
wala kang may bato, no, na ano. Parang but it's all in the fake news, sir. So that's one strategy. Dapat may strategy to counter, no, the fake news. That we all be truth tellers there, no. So malinis, walang bahid, sabi niyo. That's a test of character. Second, you said masinop at marunong mag-prioritize, and you equate that to performance.
Yes, so, essentially lahat naman sila nagsilbi na sa bayan. So tingnan mo yung performance nila, kung na-achieve nila at una-una kung ginamit nila yung kanilang powers at saka yung kanilang resources, which are scarce commodity in this
pandemic,
infant democracy. Very
that's true.
So whether they were able to use it to prompt positive consequences in the lives of the ordinary people.
That's true. So you said judicious use of power and compassion for the poor, no? And ako, sir, dagdag natin sa Ateneo, di ba, yung consistency sa lifestyle. Because people can say, oh, di ba, parang, okay, sige, sasabihin mong mahirap ka, but then, pinapangatawanan mo ba yon, no? Parang ngayon, yung kasimplehan mo. Then the third one, sir, you said credibility, pagkakatiwalaan, and then the last one, you said governance, good governance. Can you expound it?
Parang yung last naman, essentially, is virtually the, how would you call that?
The thing that encapsulates everything, yeah?
Well, that's the arc.
Yes.
Effectively. So, yung pangatlo, para sa akin kasi kumbaga, we need to drill down and then come up with a general or probably overarching standard or the golden standard for a presidential candidate, which is really good governance. So, yung kasi tatlong bagay yan eh. Number one, ando na nga sa judicious use of resources.
Yeah.
And therefore, it includes not just of course being not corrupt, but essentially having the right priorities.
Correct.
and having outcomes, positive outcomes. And number two, good governance kasi is good economics, because if you look at it, not just on the expenditure side, where you can use the resources properly, but panahon ni Pinoy, without raising new taxes except in cigarette, they were able to lift the tax to GDP. And as an economist, and you can do all multivariate regressions and see. And the best predictor of Philippine growth is actually tax to GDP. So Pinoy was able to raise it from 12 to 14.7% by sheer collection efficiency in BIR and customs. Kasi nga naman, kung pinagkakatiwala mo yung namumuno at alam mong gagamitin sa tama, mas willing ka magbayad ng taxes. At saka yung mismo nangongolekta, there is the top leads by example. So obviously, you set the tone basically for the entire state apparatus, how to behave. And lastly, and probably more important, is if you have the credibility, alam mo hinaharap natin yung economic scars ng pandemya, mga nawasak na SME. Pangalawa, gabundok
na
utang. Gawa nga, to keep government running, even without revenues, because you locked down, because every life is bawat buhay mahalaga, at kailangan igala mo ang dignity dignity of every person. So everybody had to sacrifice. So para maayos yan, kailangan mo ng mga reforma, at walang reforma na there are no such thing as a painless reform.
That's true.
So dapat yung namumuno ay meron po siyang demonstrated capability as well as and credibility to ask people to forego current comforts for long-term permanent gains for nation building. So sa lahat, pag picture mo yung lahat ng mga mukha ng mga kandidato, isa lang ang pwede. Si Lenny lang eh. Diba, parang ikaw, you are testing my forbearance for pay. So you need to ask yourself, I mean, did I have, kumbaga, sinaktan mo na ako ng katakot mo na. Ngayon, sasabihin mo ulit, well, the other three actually, well, it's a question of not moral ascendancy, but really the ability na napatunayan mo na you actually live by the moral standards that affords you with that endows you with that credibility to ask people, come on, let's contribute to nation building, but you need to make these sacrifices for the good of everyone.
That's true. The consistency, no, sir? Don't you miss teaching? Turo kayo ulit dito sa Ateneo. Anyway, sir, yun, you also said about...
Ang naman dyan, sir, I actually have a 9 point, basically very Jesuitic, wherein number 6, actually the number 1 is man for others and categorical imperative. Actually the 5th one really is that politics is essentially a teaching job. So in other words, there is prophetic and both prophetic and pastoral aspects of serving the people through politics.
Ang galing. And then when I was selling your EA, executive assistant, na during the pandemic, you had a research team. You had a very, very good research team, and you were always basing it on numbers and research on what to do next during the pandemic. Sir, hindi nag-invest yung mga tao sa DOH na gano'n, di ba? Yung hindi gano'n ka thorough. So trust the ME person in you there. You also talked about direct foreign investment, sir. Can you expand on that?
Kasi gabundok na yung domestic at foreign debt. Hindi po pwede na aasa mo pa rin.
That's true.
You can raise taxes, but taxes always hurt the poor first until it's collected and used for social services, unless and there is, it can go either way if you spend it properly or you run away with it. So it's not sure. So to address, kasi you need to, debt to GDP, the numerator is big, the denominator is under threat from the economic scars. So what you need to do is you have to put the economy in a higher trajectory. You can keep borrowing, but you're already at 60%. When President Gloria sought my essentially in 2004 we are at about 70%. So we're 10% away from it. But of course, you have to be anticipatory. Now, what if the U.S. increases its interest rates? Some of the countries become more how would you call that? The uncertainties in EU, or the uncertainties by China and everything. So that can lead to a global slowdown. So hindi mo maiiwasan na you cannot allow, number one, taxes to do the heavy lifting.
That's true.
And number two, you cannot also overborrow. At the same time, you need to grow the economy fast enough so that the denominator is growing faster than the numerator. So how to produce growth? Well, basically, you need a lot of investments, which is not utang. So in short, it cannot be government, it has to be private. And in private, it has to be a balance, both foreign direct investments and domestic private investments. So tingnan mo ulit yung apat na mukha. Sino ba doon? Sino ba sa kanila makakapagsabi, oh, come invest in the Philippines? I mean, you put all their faces in NAIA. So, yun nga ang konting hirap kay BBM, kasi there's a black hole that you need a huge adjustment period.
Why, sir? Why? I want to ask that. Oh, or before that, you gave your ranking, the very ME, very management engineering. You put a system, you have a criteria. Did you put it in a graph or studied them for a criteria? And then you came up with a top 5, no, sir? So yung ranking, can you tell the people again your ranking? I caught it in an interview.
Of course, si Lenny came out easily as number 1. And number 2 probably is Pacman. Number 3 is Lacson, and number 4 is Isko, and number 5 is obviously BBM.
Sir, let's tackle BBM first. So the black hole comes from where, and then because adjustment in the world, if ever we'll have another Marcos then.
Ang problema kasi dito sa atin, pwede siguro nabubulagan tayo ngayon because of the strongman populism that actually is not unique to the Philippines. It's a phenomenon all over the world. But foreign investors are not being grappled. They are not engrossed in the same psychology, mass psychology that we are all in right now. So titingnan nila, and of course, kailangan tingnan nila all the risks that were associated from the 22 years during the dark days of martial rule. So kung halimbawa ako si BBM, ang unang gagawin ko, I will already set up my cabinet as an assurance to them. Ito yung mga tao ko. You don't have to look at me. These guys will manage DOF, DBM, NEDA, everything like that. So, but at the same time, yung ibang-iba kay Lenny, because she has no vested interest. She is not related or associated with businesses that essentially need protection. And I cannot see any rent seeking. There will be less rent seeking under administration, which is actually the mother of all corruption. Number 1 is rent seeking policy is number 1 corruption. Second is revenue corruption, and the third is expenditure corruption. But of course, people are so engrossed with the expenditure corruption because that is more you can measure it, diba? But the revenue corruption, the one that you did not allowed to be collected, that is actually much larger than but the policy corruption is more insidious because it disrupts the operation of free markets. It shifts artificially the supply curve to the left and affords oligopolistic or monopolistic or oligopolistic powers, and therefore deprives consumers of both quality and cheaper access. So,
and in a Bongbong administration, sir, what would be the effect there about the revenue?
Kasi hindi naman nila matatanggihan. They have so many vested interests.
Yeah. Okay.
You can just look back and the number of companies that are associated with them during that era. So ako naman kasi ayaw ko sana pag-usapan yung negative ng mga yun. I just have a ranking.
That's true. What's going for them, no? So that's it with Bongbong. Sir, how about Isko? Can we assess him? Parang bakit tinimbang niya sa pero kulang?
Pwede pass.
Bakit, sir? No, kahit konti lang. Para we would know the pinaka-objective basis. Bakit hindi siya? Bakit kulang dun sa assessment niya, sir? As a teacher now, bakit pass?
You're putting me on the spot talaga.
Sorry, sir. No, but objectively now, saan nagkulang? Saan pwede pang mag-improve?
I would say na is also surrounded by vested interests.
That's true. Yun na lang po, sir. Okay.
I can say more, but he's a good friend of mine also, and he has a network of sales or marketing here in Albay.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Sir, yung dati niyang kasama si Ronnie Puno, I think left him and then went to Ping Lacson. And then one of the things that Ronnie said is ang kulang pa rin, parang marami pang dapat pag-aralan sa ekonomiya, sa politika, at marami pang pwedeng patunayan kung nag-stick muna siya sa Maynila at pinakita na, okay, 3 terms in Maynila kinumpleto bago mag-jump bilang presidente. Do you subscribe to that, sir? Kasama ba yun sa na-factor yung paghanda, supposedly, kahandaan?
Kasi tinignan ko yung performance ni Bistek at siya
Okay.
So may comparative analysis ako.
Galing nyo talaga. Pag ME talaga may comparative analysis. At anong lumabas, sir?
Mas pioneering si Bistek.
Okay.
So I'm not disputing the claims of Isko, but like for example, the Bistek bill, the housing, the medium rise.
That's true.
So I would like to, if the reports are right, his financial management, for example, I don't know. I hope it is wrong that the reports that the city of Manila borrowed 15 billion to enable his achievements. He probably did not tax just like Joy Belmonte. So I better, for proper perspective. Tech increased the property valuation because the poor have no properties.
Yes.
But the rich does. So pero si Joy, I think, postponed it. I think same in Manila. So unlike Makati. So I mean, collecting the right taxes from the right people, I think, is a sign of good leadership.
That's true, which is very like Vico Soto also in Pasig. Sir, alam niyo po ba yung schoolmate din natin na talagang a lot of businesses who don't follow his instructions in Pasig would rather go out kasi hindi raw sila makakalusot dun sa stringent policies ng businesses sa Pasig din. But he's working it out, no? Parang yun, nanatili siya doon. So, any other things, sir? Will the people be swayed by the narrative, by the Isko narrative? I wanted you to comment on a lot of people in the cabinet, in the Duterte cabinet, have gone to the Isko camp already. Can you comment on that, sir? Why so? The populist thing? Is that the populist thing?
I think that question is better answered by them. But
yes, sir.
That
Buti
same
nandiyan kayo
narrative,
para magkonsensya, no?
no, that same narrative was used by Manny Villar, right?
Yeah.
But of course, pero para sa akin dyan is yung number one kasi character.
That's true.
Wala malinis, walang bahay. So
Yes,
if he passes that, then it's almost like hygiene factor for me. There's no it's either you're clean or not clean.
Yeah.
There's no gray area. That's why I said Lenny basically shifts the current state of ambiguity to a state of strategic clarity that good is good and right is right.
Oh, I hope people see that in your lens, using your lens, sir. It's hard to communicate it, but I hope they do.
Ako naman kasi pag pumipili ako ng presidente, hindi mo ako tumitingin sa ratings. Hindi ako tumitingin sa survey.
That's a good point. Yes, sir.
So, kung sino ang dapat, yun ang sinusuporta ko.
Kasi na-blur na ngayon yung tama o mali, yung dapat at hindi, no? Sir, we go to Ping Lacson, sir. He knows his stuff. Well, he has experience in the Senate.
Bakit ako nagko-comment sa ibang kandidato?
And governance. Pero yun lang, sir. Bakit dun sa criteria nyo parang hindi siya umabot or parang hindi siya yung napili nyo, sir?
Well, he's number 3, almost at par with Pacman. He yung genuine compassion for the poor kasi that demonstrate capacity to take care of the poor. Though I'm asking Lenny to drop the laylayan, the chinelas, and the luga.
Yes.
And because she has direct experiences with the basic text, she has worked with them
already. Yes. She's lived it, no?
So she should have a feel of the concrete plans of dealing with the basic sectors, whether either the urban poor or the Sweden farming of the Sweden the upland farmers, and then of course the marginal fishermen. She has experience on that, and therefore enough of that laylayan and go direct already. I will do this for you, and I think she has concrete plans for them.
Yes.
Pero baka siguro dahil pag-speech gusto niya mas maikli, kaya kasi the use of laylayan as a concept essentially invokes, but at the same time gives her a cover of not having to define or
fringes, no? Yeah. But you've gone through philo and oral, sir. That's part of the, I guess, no, the figure of speech that tipong to capture nga that. But it's true, no? Dapat naka-anchor on really real experiences, no, on the ground and plans for the poor, no? So, sir, how about Ping Lacson's assignment in Marawi? That is one of the things that he was asked to do, no? The rehabilitation.
No, hindi sa kanya yun. Sa Yolanda siya.
Yolanda thing. So, what has he done there? Kasi
naintindihan ko siya dahil sa politika ng panahon ni Pinoy, hindi naman siya pinahawak ng pera.
Okay.
So hanggang planning lang talaga siya at saka taga-coordinate. I understand his position there. He was never, because Albay is model. So he would, during the OPAR, he would I would always coordinate with him and relate to him for replication. What Albay did in terms of the rehabilitation after Riming, where we were able to relocate almost the entire vulnerable sector with good housing. But I was chairman of the budget then, so
wala talaga. But would you have done better, sir? Had you been given a budget? Sir, meron isa kasi sa nag-comment sa thread natin, no? Si Dennis Uba said, Joey Salceda is considered a disaster management champion for his excellent preparedness and response actions in Albay. So, parang ako, yun yata yung kailangan, no? Pero may punchline lang si Dennis, sir, dito sa comment. Nakita niya siguro kung gaano kalaking disaster ang nakaamba sa bansa kung ibang mga tao, ibang mga leaders daw yung pipiliin.
Di naman, kasi what's going for the Philippines are secular and structural trends.
That's true.
But the structure is depends very much on the management style.
Yes.
But the secular, like our demographics, is still going for us, and that's saving us for a lot of economic collapse, for the rapid recoveries. But that is denying, the potential opportunities.
Yeah.
Alam mo, I said, I will repeat, the economic scars, almost a lot of the SMSE, which actually accounts for 67% of employment, have disappeared. So there was a big issue between me and Secretary Dominguez. Do you feed dead horses or do you allow the new sprouts?
Yes.
So yung bayanihan tree was always stalled because we were trying to save, of course, the empty stomachs of the workers that were essentially disenfranchised. So, but beyond that, of course, from an economic point of view, right now, of course, it's already the time for the government to
recover. Yeah, that's true.
To take care of the sprouts. But
true.
The economic scars and the big debt that we have, those are the key things that where you need a leader you can trust, where you get and that the Philippines will be in good hands, and at the same time has the credibility to invite investors and promise policy predictability. I can only see that in Lenny because of what Jesse did in Naga, and at the same time and the innovation with the little money she has in OBP. So I would expect that she would be able to do that.
Sir, one last. Sorry, Manny Pacquiao's the next one. Ang taas nun, more than Ping Lacson, more than Isko for you. So what's going for him, sir? Lenny would say, siya dapat yung kasama ko eh. Parang yun, isa yung sa pinu-forge nilang tandem supposedly eh.
I may not be a Marxist, Leninist, but it's all about class origins.
That's true.
So, but education will play a part.
That's true.
At the same time with your class origin. So I would say that he would have that genuine, just like Lenny, that genuine, that sincere compassion for the poor.
Yeah.
So kaya nga lang yung number 2 yun sa akin eh.
Galing.
I separate, you can be clean and do nothing. You can no bahid because you did nothing. But Lenny was clean and walang bahid, but at the same time was able to provide innovative. Alam mo yung isang innovation niya, nakakatuwa eh, kasi we're trying to do it in Albay also, which is really the Omicron health home care kits.
Yes, sir. Which the DOH did a year after, no?
Ewan ba dun?
I get you.
Sabi ko, umimbento pa kayo kung ginaya nyo na lang.
Sana kung in-improve, di ba? Pero hindi eh. Well, you
wala mas. Kuminulang pa nga eh. Puro paracetamol, walang oximeter, walang ano. So,
That's true.
So, I've been, the basis for my, well, of course, the parameters will be a priori. It's based on principles that are applicable universally. But the way I graded them was a posteriori. Basically, I looked at, I scanned the entire, their pronouncements, everything about them. I have a...
Ang galing! I want to see your sheets, sir.
I can't because without my name, probably.
I get you, sir, there. I get. But
ayaw ko nga pag-usapan ng ibang kandidato, pero most of what I said naman are public knowledge, diba?
That's true. Sir, yung ginagawa ngayon ni Ma'am Lenny, no? How can you help in trying to increase the numbers at this point? Will you be playing a really important role in trying to boost the numbers? Sir, you talked about in group chats, in mga huddles that you have with your colleagues. You said Since wala naman kayong commitment sa kahit na anong sinong presidente, you just have someone for vice president. Will that be enough to bring in the numbers, sir?
Ako, tingin ko air war to.
Okay.
So all this roaming around by Lenny, well, that's good. But at the end of the day, it's really having the resources. Pero may mga spending limits naman ng ano eh. So organized networks, I think, will do the trick. I do expect Lenny to go after 2 weeks of this campaigning by about, I think there will be radical changes because there will be some coagulation in at least making that last-ditch effort of stopping the current leader.
Yeah, that's true.
So magkakaroon po dyan ng mga, how do you call that, people leaving the queue and just going for the second because that's the only viable. That gives you some form of viability. So I would expect that by March he would have at least 24%.
Yes.
And I hope that it will come from the 50% of the leader, but so if that reduces him to 40, 45, and therefore if at least 2 of them. Pero kung ano kasi,
I want to ask that. Is there a possibility of uniting still, sir? Or kasi sabi parang ang maganda dyan, it's not only like backing out of the race or letting go, but the active, di ba, participation of who you're voting for or who you're supporting. Do you see something happening like that? Based on character, no?
Kung as an ME, you might feel disappointed.
Really?
But as a politician, nakakita ko dyan, lumaban pa kahit ano pa ang ratings niya eh. Basta,
hindi ba for fundraising lang yon, sir? Inaamin naman ng iba.
Partly, I think that's one thing that ordinary citizens can do for Lenny. And that's which Albay showed already. He didn't spend a single cent in Albay. But probably the whole, naubusan nga ng mga pink ribbons, naubusan ng lahat, kahit anong kulay ng t-shirt, lahat na lahat, parang lang makalabas at makita si Lenny.
Yes, sir.
At saka binoboycott yung mga maka-BBM na mga tindahan. Ganon, I mean, it was very active.
Level. Yes.
So we went to that level, which I think, sabi ko, huwag nyo nang gawin yan kasi don't insult the buyer.
That's true. But do you see, sir, again, yun nga, yung pagtatandem ba or pagle-let go ng ibang mga kandidato para suportahan siya?
It will help. But
it won't happen. Will it happen?
It can, for as long as we can put Lenny at 24. If Lenny is at, so I think the trick there, because I'm very numerical, at that point, if you go back to all the previous elections from Gloria, that can start with Ramos, with now.
Yeah.
24 kasi is a viable number.
Yes.
That number should be achieved before the local campaign. No, before the local campaigns.
Before the local campaign. Okay.
Tingin ko naman,
kaya.
Number 1, masaya na ako dahil ginawa ko yung tama sa tingin ko tama.
That's true. That's true, sir. Pero we don't want a Raul Roco run. Did you support Raul Roco then? No. That's a GMA run.
GMA ako kasi noon eh. Kasi,
pero Bicol yun, di ba? Bicol din yun.
Unfortunately, I made GMA win. I mean,
ayun pala yung winning factor, sir. Sana makatulong rin kayo dito, no? But yun nga, can you make the first Bicolano win as a president at this point?
To me, it's tactically, it's a good goal. But for me kasi, you always get the government that you deserve.
Oh my God. Ang sakit doon, double-edged, sir, yung statement na yon.
kasi ako kasi, sabi ko kasi,
political maturity is something expected of us.
Pero if good people do the right things, I think we will be able to shift the curves. never underestimate the capacity. You know, all the revolutions started with just one little spark.
That's true. That's true.
So,
like that.
Like everybody coming out, I'm so happy. My good friend Stella Kimbo is now openly for Lenny.
Yeah.
She's my partner in economics.
In numbers, you're brilliant in numbers, sir. So yun parang the numbers. Sabi niyo nga hindi kayo nakabase sa surveys. I hope we hit 24 by March or by before the local campaigns. Sir, comment lang on Lito Banayo saying that the conscience vote or the soft votes will go to Isko. What do you think? Will that happen, or will the President Duterte finally endorse Isko, or is that wishful thinking?
I don't expect the President to endorse anyone.
Anyone?
I don't
Okay.
think, if he wanted to, he would have done it earlier to make an impact.
Yeah.
Number two, kayo pa 137 economists and former NEDA secretaries will endorse Isko. So I guess
I get it.
like Lenny cannot claim to be. Sabi ko nga sa kanya, hindi naman ikaw pwede magsabi na ikaw malinis, walang bakit. The affirmation will come from, of course, from
people
others.
Worked with, huh? Yeah,
others basically. So for their camp to claim that, I think it's at least at the very best, ang tawag dyan,
hindi nagbubuhat ng sariling bangko, yung sinasabi niya.
Ibig sabihin, and on that aspect, big no na magbuhat ng sariling bangko. It has to come from affirmation of institutions.
And people like you, no? And people like you who've been critical of all things and who've been sticking to science, no? At this point. Yun, parang ako, nagulat din, sir, kami. Pero sana inasahan din ng mga tao kasi parang Bicolano kayo eh. At least ito, parang ito yung ano. And when you said, again, no, yung common good or the bigger picture to the good, yung tama. Sana makita yun ng mga tao. So, I hope you'll be active.
I think you need networks to.
That's true.
You have to activate networks.
And what are those networks? The business sector, sir?
Business sector. I think I think most of the business sector, because many of them are my clients.
Good.
I think they will come out openly.
Good.
I think the church have their own network.
Youth, sir. Is there a youth vote really?
Right now, the youth is all out for BBM.
Yun na nga eh. Parang yung sinasabi nilang pumila ng 3 o'clock in the morning para magparehistro, you think these are the conscientized people who will support what you saw?
You have to be more forgiving because it's a global phenomenon. This strongman populism is the regnant political culture. So people of good will and good faith, I think, just has to remain steady. So right now it is really Lenny, which appears to be our last card, and therefore we must use that last card in order to trump the.
Ganda ng Trump. Ang ganda ng Trump.
Yeah. Okay. Pun intended. To trump.
Yes, sir. Sir, so before we summarize everything, we want to go back to your days in Ateneo. Here kasi in Level Up, we celebrate who we were, what we love, and what we stand for, and what's next. So, based on your experience, what kind of student were you, sir, when you were in Ateneo? It seems
Studios.
like you were diligent. So you were
more than that.
Did you wait for deadlines before you submit your requirements? What kind of ganun ba kayong klase?
Hindi naman. I was running after grades because on my first year, actually, yung provincial effect was only. Yeah. I can see yung mga galing sa Ateneo High School already had algebra and everything, while we from the provinces, parang pa sa amin. So I was already crying because I got a lot of B And I wanted...
Wow, wait lang. C plus, sir, yung okay. But you wanted a higher grade.
So, I was crying to my mom and sabi ng nanay ko, okay lang yan. Kung hindi mo naman kayanin yan kasi scholar ka ng GSIS, ng UTIBO, sabi niya, may mga scholarship naman sa competing and other schools because I topped a lot of these exams, no? Except that the standards of battery were much higher. But on the second sem, I really did my best. So, dahil unconditional naman yung sabi ng nanay ko, I was able to perfect straight A all my subjects. And thereafter until my 4th year. So the only grade I got was when I took summer because I wanted to abbreviate my ME. Just like sila Chichi Kakdak wanted 4.5 years. So I also went there.
Kaya pala October. Kaya kayo October.
Kaso nakakaantok ang summer eh.
Yes,
so I had this course called Rizal under Father Arcilia. So sa pipila, So I was already named as a candidate for Magna.
Okay.
But he gave me a C+.
Oh my God.
So I went to the academic council, said, how far should you go with 3.699? Where will you stop the decimals? For as long as you're not 3.7, then you are not on Magna Cum Laude. So I ended up like that. Although I really worked for it. So I always wanted to be straight A in almost all my subjects.
But did you forgive Father Arcilia for that already, sir?
Oh, he's so good. He's almost the natural heir of Horacio de la Costa.
Okay.
Not as good at prose, but in terms of insight, he was very sharp.
Eloquensya, sapensya, no? Parang yun talaga. Sir, what subjects did you excel in aside from those in ME? The numbers. You were drawn to what subjects and what were the memorable
You'll
ones?
be surprised. Straight A in philosophy, 101, 102.
Sino teacher niya, sir?
Enyabana, Roca Periols, Manny D, and Jesuit on epistemology, which is actually more, he was a Jesuit, I forgot his name. So, in fact, on my first assignment with Rainier, he called me, we have a philosopher in this class. His name is Joey Salceda. So underneath my paper was about sa pagiging ina. So I used eidetic reduction, setting aside your biases, and then going for the idol. So I mean, until now, it guides me in terms of research, in terms of analysis. So, and then I was straight A in theology.
Wow, even theology.
But my theology my first theology was Father Intengan. And when he asked this question, how do you change society without violence? For some reason, I don't know, from nowhere, I stood up and say social legislation. And then after that, he got me to the Jesuit house and enrolled me in PDSP.
Very good. Well, they've good 7 kinds of fruit juices at the Jesuit residence. Marami doon matatabang, di ba? Para sa mga taste ng mga health conscious na mga Jesuita. But otherwise, at least you trained under Father Archie Intengan na kaya
I became an activist, basically working with FFW in organizing labor, organizing student councils, organizing basic sectors. So I was with Partido Democrático Socialista since 1977 on my first year in college, so very early on in the game. So people
what do you tell these young people now who haven't experienced martial law or who are so enamored with the BBM campaign?
Well, kahit ako sinahirapan ako talaga kung how to deal with this because the revisionism started in
earlier on
2012. There are 10 years of revisionism. It's called Historical Facts. There is a page which I've been actually looking at, but I did not have the courage to confront. So sana
So yun nga eh, parang not have the courage to confront. And second, pagkukulang po ba natin yan kasi hindi tayo dumiin para sabihin na ay mali.
hindi
People
naman.
were so polite eh. Kasi calling them out.
Like, kasalanan din nila Pinoy at saka nila Abad eh. Ginamit din nila yung Facebook eh.
That's true.
I
So sir,
mean,
pero parang inherent in the educational system, parang we were soft on that too. What do you think? Parang or we didn't talk about it at all.
well, it's a failure or lack of institutions like Ateneo.
That's true.
So, I mean, everything in this country moves because of the elite. And the education of the elite is properly vested in our school, UP. So it's a failure of UP, failure of Ateneo, failure of LaSalle, failure, basically of being non-responsive to
that's true.
Taking more aggressive action when because there are institutions that I think essentially napilayan din kasi yung church eh.
That's true.
Because during the pandemic, there were no masses, no contributions, so they cannot move so much. So the social action centers were essentially limping around. So Pero as an advice on the youth, you triggered me. I'm beginning to think. So
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Because yun po yung kailangan nating abutin at this point. And sir, yun one thing also, who do you go to for advice still in your sa circle nyo sa Ateneo?
I have a circle of friends, mostly Ateneans.
Mostly Ateneans. Diba? Kasi it's in school that you build those at yung paraan ng I am a philo major, sir. So yun din. While you're there at the math part, sanay din kami at yung framework ng mga pag-uusap. So at in these people you trust, pag alam mo na yung framework ng pag-iisip. Sir, ano yung what's the best advice that you got from these people na alam mo na walang kabig? Tama yung sinabi nyo kanina eh. You will trust people na nakikita mong hindi ko makabig at walang, di ba, the best advice that you get are from people na walang at stake.
I pay them well.
Ang galing. And do you employ these young people and become your interns? Yes. Diba? You become your interns?
More than interns, I have my own. It's called Albay Blue Consortium.
Ang galing. Kasi parang, and they won't be corrupt because they're paid well.
More than that, they are data scientists, basically. They're economists. So I have much of the required disciplines needed to make a good analytics.
Sir, what's next for you? You've been you're running again, no?
Yeah.
Is this what gives you fulfillment at this point? Or you can serve the country in so much more ways?
Well, I always define that if I can put an ambition in every heart of a Bicolano and of a Albayano and see a better future that they can fight for. Actually, I keep telling them it's not all the infrastructure that I was able to build around here or I have produced, I have redo. Kasi ang laki talaga yung education ambition namin. So I produced 188,000 college graduate, almost every house is a college graduate. I have built a new airport, the trains and everything, and I've achieved all the MDGs, infant mortality, MMR, CMR, and everything, name it. Our national achievement test ranking came from 177 and we became number 19. I was able to reduce malnutrition below, and I've reduced my poverty rate from lower than the national average from 42 to only 14%. So in short, I would define
character. It's character.
I would define kanina sinabi ko na sa'yo na I look at my job as essentially prophetic and pastoral.
Yes.
So it's all politics is a teaching job.
Yeah.
So you have to put ambition in the hearts of everyone here, and that will essentially give them the
fire. Yeah.
The will and the will and to aspire for a higher good.
That's true. That's true. So, thank you for inspiring us, sir.
Thank
yung
you.
choice nyo ba of Lenny, hindi na magbabago yan? Yun yung tanong ng mga tao because you also have a way. You know, you have a way of like parang, uy, you see another thing. And in the end, yun yung totoo. Yun yung nangyayari.
And then I think it's our destiny.
You think so? Sir, samahan nyo kami sa pagdadasal din yan if ever. Sir,
Okay,
is that something you pray for?
Well, right now I work for.
No, but thank you, sir.
Nasa laboratory portion lang ako.
Pero yon, salamat, sir. You inspire us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
We follow your lead. We follow your lead. See you soon, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Level Up will be right back with all our other friends from another field, from the arts and culture. So we'll see you in a while. Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, Katipuneros, don't change that dial because we'll be coming right back. Good morning, Ateneo. Start your day right with your morning wake-up call. Good morning, Ateneo. Catch the latest news and stories around the campus. Good morning, Ateneo. Your daily dose of Radio Chikahan, tawanan, kantahan, and kwentuhan. Every morning from 9 to 10 a.m. Tuesdays to Fridays. Good morning, Ateneo. Your mornings will never be the same again.
Coffee break na! Tara na't magpahinga and savor the rich aroma of life through our inspiring cup of stories served by the Parable Cafe. Compliments of your life barista, Father Ro Atilano of the Society of Jesus. Welcome to the Parable Cafe, brewing inspiration, one cup of story at a time.
Radyo Katipunan is now online. See our live feed on facebook.com/Radyo Katipunan. Check out our Instagram and our Twitter at Radyo Katipunan and subscribe to our YouTube channel at Radyo Katipunan FM for more exclusive content.
Lenny Robredo, hindi ka bigo, may tapang, may puso para sa Pilipino. Lenny Robredo, hindi ka bigo, may tapang, may puso para sa Pilipino. Ang Pilipinas ay matatag, bawat pagsubok kinakaya.
Pinaangat niya po yung taong mga nasa laylayan.
At sa kanya ay maayos na pamamahala.
Ito po yung sinasabi natin na pag ang gobyerno tapat, talagang aangat ang buhay ng lahat.
Kasing tatag ng diwa ng Pilipinas, siyang kailangan. Alam kong di ako nag-iisa. Buong bayan ay may
aming future ay nasa magandang kamay.
Hindi ka bigo, may tapang, may puso para sa Pilipino. Ileni Robredo, hindi ka bigo, may tapang, may puso para sa Pilipino.
Walang bahid at katiwalian. Ang tropa Robredo, Pangilinan.
Hindi ka bigo, may tapang, may puso para sa Pilipino. Ito lang ating pinuno, handa nang magsilbi. Husay at tibay puso ang isip. Kay Ileni tayo, Robredo, kay Ileni.
Ang aking presidente na si Lene Robredo.
Dito ko sa Naga nakita na ang luma at bulok na klase ng politika kayang talunin ng matino, mahusay, masipag at makataong pamamahala. Dito natin napakita ang pag-angat makakamtan ng hindi dinadaan sa salapi o sa palakasan, kundi sa sama-samang pagpasya ng landas tungo sa kinabukasan. Susuotan natin ng tsinelas ang gobyerno at patatawirin sa mga kilakil papunta sa iyo. Sa ating pamamahala, laylayan ang magiging bagong sentro. Tara na, ipanalo na natin ito.
Na-capture na yun. Okay, we're on our second hour with our second hour. And I have to introduce people I admire. And they had the foresight to come up with a book. At least, no, pag may libro, meron ng testament sa history. And yun nga, sila yun yung nauna dun sa gumawa ng servant leadership. And they've coined that word already even before the election. So, let me introduce my guest. Siguro seniority muna. We have to introduce Sir Krip Yuson, whom I a poet, fictionist, and essayist. But what I surprised, he taught in the Ateneo and then went finished elementary and high school in San Beda. Nako, the schoolmate pala ni Digong, and continued college in San Beda and then attended Ateneo, PWU, and UP also.
UP in college.
And UP, sir. Sir, good afternoon. How did you get into this project, which is very admirable?
I just got a call from Noel Del Prado.
Okay. Yes.
I believe that was mid-December. And what he asked me, if I could edit or help edit this anthology of big poets, it was a no-brainer, for fundamental reasons. One, the request was coming from Boyet, whom I knew also to be an Atenean nga. And besides that, we were colleagues for several years at MTRCB.
At the MTRCB, yes.
And I don't recall a single instance of contention in our part, between us when it came to issuing classification ratings all those years. Secondly, of course, it was because it was for poetry. And I've had considerable expertise in editing or putting together anthologies, thematic anthologies of poetry, most of which I co-edited with Dr. Hemino Abad.
Yes.
That Jimmy Abad, yeah. And thirdly, of course, it was for country. When it was for Lenny, it was talagang, of course, yeah.
Were you clear from the start, sir, that you were going for Lenny?
From the start talaga, from the start.
Why, sir? I want to ask.
Unang-una, dilawan ako eh.
Okay.
I've always been for the Aquinos.
But despite all the notions, they demonize the Dilawans, And then parang sinisisi pa nga why we're in this rut at this point.
Well, you know naman that's all troll work, you know.
Yeah.
It's really all lies and deception. So one never believes in those. And more, well, I voted for Lenny as vice president to begin with. And I was happy that she did become vice president. And throughout her vice presidency, she did excellently, I must say. So again, it was a no-brainer for the 2022 elections. Along with millions of others, I was hoping that she would declare her candidacy. And when she did, syempre, we're all in.
Diretso, parang, and she made the vice presidency relevant even, no? And then
the only choice, it's really the only choice among the 5 or 6 or 7, 8 candidates. And all the more so because of the toughest rival. No? Who else can beat that monster?
Good point, sir. Kasi parang the sense is, may panalo na natin siya over BBM or Marcos Jr. the last time. Pwede natin siyang ipanalo ulit. Yun yung ano. And thank you for this piece of literature. Now we have to introduce another one of the editors also. I miss this person kasi ang tahimik dito sa campus. Tapos yung ME pala sa Kalakofilo. Pero sila po yung palaging kasama yung mga pangalan dun sa mga Heights journals namin. So, but now, here he is. Emman Velasco, magandang hapon, Emman. I haven't seen you for a long time.
Magandang hapon din sa iyo, Noel. Ikaw rin.
What made you do this? What made you do this? Tumutula ka pa ba? Buti na lang nabuhay yung pagiging Makata mo after with this, no?
Yeah, salamat sa Diyos. Actually, hindi ko na maalala ngayon kung sinong may original idea to, kung si Boyet ba o si Marvin ba. Pero isang gabi nag-usap kami at nabuo yung idea na gumawa ng ganitong libro at yun nga, nagkasundo kami na sige, gawin natin. Narinig namin from Marvin, sige, go, okay. Trinabaho na namin.
Galing, no? Lakasan rin ng loob. At this time, maganda may oras kasi nga pandemya, nag-search ng December, may oras din para nakakulong tayong lahat. Alam ko, inaayos nyo to. Pero mas
ako, from the start, inisip ko, I was what to say na from the start, hindi ko inisip na magiging mahirap ito. Nagulto ko kay Boyet, minsan nag-usap kami, sabi niya, nagduda siya na baka hindi matuloy yung proyekto. Pero hindi ako nagduda. Simulat sa pool, naisip ko na magkakatato ito, mabubuo ito. At nabuo nga. Again, salamat sa Diyos.
Ang galing. At hindi lang dito kinolekta sa hindi lang sa mga manunulat dito sa bansa natin kasi meron contributions from poets or writers na wala dito sa bansa pero nandiyan nagbigay at kasama, represented pa rin sila. Parang electorate talaga, no?
Totoo.
Maganda. Well, and now the visionary, at least when it comes to publishing, thank you. Pero hindi to yung primary job niya. I know this is just an apostolate for him, no? Pero hindi niya ikayayaman to, alam ko. Pero we have here someone who's brave enough to produce these kinds of books. Marvin Aceron, attorney Marvin Aceron, sa Fila Major, now we can say. Yan, Marvs, why did you venture in this? Kumita ka ba sa servant leadership? I doubt, hindi naman kita yung motivation mo doon na libro.
Well, of course, hindi naman talaga kita itong motivation dito. This is really propagation of the Lenny Robredo ideal, the pink revolution. And whatever money we earn, we plow it back. So, ang trabaho ngayon sa Anselmo sa Facebook, binuboost namin lahat ng magandang balita about Lenny Robredo. In fact, before we launched this book, si Professor Ed Garcia has come up with a list of 20 disturbing facts about another candidate. And we boosted it, every one of these 20 disturbing facts. And I've read all kinds of curses and insults in our Facebook time. I answered some messages. So sabi ko, we gotta do this. No? And then, talagang ginagawa namin, we have to propagate this idea. So far, it's been good. Meron ako nakukunta. May mga kinakausap ako, yung murahin ako sa Facebook, tapos kakausapin ko, tatanong ko sa kanya, alam mo sir, ganito talaga yan, ganyan. Then, kailangan ko pa magkape. Then, we will talk about it. Then, mamaya, friend ko na. So, this is it's really about education.
Kailangan just like to correct yung mga tao, no? Kailangan engage yung mga tao. We just and I saw the translated version of Servant Leadership. So
The first book, Servant Leader Lenny Robredo, when it came out, when I first got the text message from Professor Ed Garcia, he had this book. Sabi ko, you send me the manuscript. Nakita ko lang yung title, Lenny Robredo, Servant Leader. Nag-text na agad ako, let's do it, sir. Let's do it. So I called, sabi ko, ito gagawin natin.
Aming pera, Emman, nakakainis.
Ano rin, swerte rin, because the book that we released before Servant Leader was another book by a classmate, the late Attorney Noel Ferrer. And we sold thousands of copies of that during the pandemic kasi it's a law book about nakebit in the book na kailangan ng maraming abogado. So I got hold of 5,000 lawyers who bought that book.
Okay.
So talagang meron kaming parang what should I say? Armas for that. We had the resources for that.
Sir Krip, kilala ko tong mga taong to since college kami. Hindi ho talaga kami yayaman ng yayaman. Kaya magandang pinagkakatiwalaan niyo kami. Kasi parang kung meron man kaming sobra, we feel like it's getting away from people who need it more. No? So hindi kami matatahimik. Gagawa pa rin ang gagawa ng mga bagay na hindi talaga natin ikalalaki talaga. So, Marvs, why are you so invested in this thing?
Well, from the very beginning, ang background ko kasi from ever since grade school, high school, I've been into publishing. I've been a writer. I was the editor-in-chief of Cab Recorder in Salceda. And when I went to college, I was in Heights. I was in the Guide. I had a column in the Guide. And after college, I went to law school. I was the managing editor of the Ateneo Law Journal. And when I became a lawyer, I wanted to go back to writing, except that iba na yung lengguwahe ko, masyado nang matigas. So I said, I better start doing something else. So I started, but I wanted to write. And I read a lot of books.
But Marv, at the height of this pandemic, when bookstores are closing down, siguro iba na yung itsura.
That's what I realized, no? Sabi ko nga nun kay Professor Ed Garcia, sir, we're going to sell your book through Facebook. And he was worried. Sabi niya, we're not going to sell it to national. No. You know why? I sold 4,000 copies of a book during the pandemic in 2 months, in 3 months. Bilang. Sabi ko, so don't worry about it. I could sell all your books, which actually happened afterwards.
So, hindi na si Sir Krip dyan. Kasi we would fancy going to book launchings, di ba? Parang yun yung nawala during the pandemic, lahat naging online na, no? At saka, yung iba pa rin yung pinipirmahan mo, yung actual na nandyan yung mga tao sa harap. So,
but you know, Noel, I'm going to point out something, no?
Yes, go.
The real idea was texted to me first by Boyet.
Okay.
Sabi niya, Marvin, kami ni Emman have this idea about coming up with this anthology. Sabi ko, mag-zoom agad tayo. Give me 1 hour. Mag-zoom kami in the morning. So we had a Zoom meeting. Sabi ko, okay, sino yung editor? So we said, Krip should be English editor and we'll have a Filipino editor. Pero hindi rin nag-pan out. So sige, okay lang. Then sabi ko, sige. At that point, sabi ko, I can visualize the book. How it would look like. Sabi ko, dapat madadala sa rally yan. Hindi masyadong malaki. Hindi masyadong fancy. Pero matibay. So, and the reason for that is, for the entire December, I had a poetry journal with me. It was a poetry journal that was the project of Krip Yuson's Philippine Literary Arts
Workshop. Okay.
Karakoa 11.
Karakoa, yes. Okay.
Karakoa 11 was released in March 1986.
You're dating ourselves, huh?
Yeah, so I've been reading that book. And you know what? This morning, I looked at it. We have the same names. You know, Jimmy Abad was there. Simeon Dumdum was there. So sabi ko, wow, parang umikot yung cycle ng history about. So I'm so happy about that.
Sir Krip, ang saya siguro kasi tribute din sa inyo na that you must have done something good because here are the young people and that's what we want now. Parang parallel to the elections. We would want the young people to take charge. Ang ganda lang.
That's
you planted
true.
the seed, sir.
Very much so. It's like a repeat cycle. Talaga, the 80s are back. You know, the late 70s of martial law, and I recall, when Ninoy was assassinated in 1983, sila Jimmy Abad and Cirilo Bautista, our national artists, for literature, Freddy Salanga and Ricky de Ungria. We got together and we put out a little pamphlet, a small anthology of poems about the martyrdom of Ninoy Aquino. And it was published in secret by the then
Mr. and Miss. Yun ba yun?
UP president nun.
UP, okay.
Kaibigan ni Jimmy. Jimmy was assistant vice president, I think, or executive vice president in UP. No? So we put that out in 1983 as a protest volume. And as a result, 4 of us lost our jobs in a government agency. So, literally lang yan.
Well, katulad ngayon, parang mas, naging matapang ba, sir, yung mga submissions ninyo? What type of poems did you have to edit or you have to go through?
For this pink poems?
Yes, for this anthology.
Yeah, it's quite a variety, no? I must say that, well, as Emman said, no, it was a challenge, no, and whether it was doable or not, we were all confident. I think the only real challenge was the timetable.
Yeah,
because the original deadline was January 2, which was giving us only 2 or 3 weeks to communicate with poets we know. Well, first of all, you have to filter, no? You have to only try to ask those you know are really kakampinks already.
Kakampink, and then I guess dalawa yan palagi, no? It's
which is quite easy, no? I mean, in my own echo chamber, of course.
That's true. That's true.
Mostly of artists, creatives, photographers, journalists. 95% of my Facebook friends
have they come out, sir?
Are anti-Duterte to begin with.
Okay,
no?
okay.
And presumably, mostly would be for Lenny. And true enough, yeah.
Pero sir, paano yung excellence? Because I know Marvin would require that. Tayo naman would require that. There should be excellence in what they wrote.
Nung una, yes, of course, we were prepared to edit out, no? But as the poems came in, parang practically everyone who submitted got in. There were only a few instances when we asked for further submissions, or someone would contribute, say, 4 or 5 poems, and we choose only 1 or 2, the ones that were really thematic.
Did you really seek out some names na dapat kasama ka dito sa anthology na to?
Yes, of course, especially in the international scene, no?
Yes, sir.
So we got
can you name those artists, sir? There's those
Rosca, Luis Cabalquinto, the oldest contributor at 87, and he's Bicolano. Bicolano, New Yorker. There's Luis Francia, Fidelito Cortez, then 3 ladies from California, including Joy Barrios. Mga kilala yan. Australia, there was Dr. Merlinda Bobbies, very well published and multi-awarded. From London, there was Gino Alcantara. There was Joel Vega, an awarded poet based in the Netherlands. There was Jim Pascual Agustin, whom
we missed too.
Marvin published already, his poetry. And there was another fellow in Singapore, Filipino, who actually edits anthologies for Singapore. So well represented, very well represented. And then, of course, among the locals, the heavyweights. Again, madali. We knew that Rio Alma would be with us.
Earlier on.
We knew that the national artists would be with us talaga.
That's true.
Ten Club from the start, Ryan Cayabyab, Alice Reyes, So mostly talaga yung mga creatives, predominantly kakampinks.
Yun. Emman, when you were editing those materials, ano yung bagong makikita ng mga tao from the Lenny that we see? Kasi somehow, poetry is a way of capturing things na beyond what we see. No? Parang ano ba yung nakita ng mga writers dun sa Lenny na persona, na tao, na pwedeng kalamanin ng libro, na laman ng libro?
Hirap ng tanong mo,
Pero kaya mo naman yun. Kaya mo naman yun.
Ang palagay ko, ang makikita ng mga tao dito is yung kung paano pumapasok sa loob ng isang makata ang isang katulad ni Leni Robredo na napaiisip sila, nagkakaroon ng introspection and realization kung ano ba talaga ang mahalaga sa isang tao. Hindi lang sa isang makata, kundi sa isang tao.
Totoo yan.
At nakikita rin nila dito kung paano mabigyang halaga yung mga maliliit na kilos niya. Halimbawa na lang yung pagsakay sa motorsiklo, yung tula ni Ginoong Tariman na naging viral. So, ibig ko sabihin, yung mga maliliit na gawaing iyon, nabibigyan ng mas malalim na kahulugan, nabibigyan ng mas magandang pagbibigay kahulugan dahil nasa loob ng isang tula.
Tapos ito, parang ang kailangan kasi natin na ngayong panahon, lalo na, yung bigyan ng inspirasyon at saka pag-asa yung mga tao. Kasi sobra talaga yung pinagdaanan natin dun sa mag-aanim na taon at dun sa pandemya. No? So, parang how will this book contribute to that kind of response or that kind of healing as a nation?
As has been said, by some commentators, I recall, Floyd Quintos, for one, pointed out that there's been this spontaneous creativity for the cause of country. And as personalized and symbolized by Lenny. And then another veteran journalist, si Belinda Cunanan, she made the point, which we knew but we couldn't say. This book is historic. It's really historic. When will you ever see again 67 poets and more, counting, contributing their poems for a presidential candidate? I don't think it will ever happen again. Not in
Nakakakilabot. Totoo naman, sir.
Totoo.
But isa lang. Oh yeah, go, Emman.
Gusto ko rin balikan yung sinabi ni Marvin na habang pinag-uusapan itong proyekto, sabi niya, yung nagpa-publish naman sila ng poetry, not for poetry itself, but for political reasons. Tama ba yun, Marvin? So itong aklat na ito, ipagkakataon din para pag-usapan. Mas malaliman, hindi lang sa TikTok, hindi lang sa FB, hindi malalimang pagtalakay ng pagkandidato ni Ma'am Lenny.
At bakit poetry? Bakit poetry, Marvin? Kasi nga parang pwede naman mag-essay, pwede naman mag-short story, pero kakaiba. Tinapatan, ito ba yung katapat ng TikTok na or ng mga Facebook posts?
Alam mo,
iba kasi yung pag-poetry, no?
Well, ganito ito. Siyempre, medyo mataas na level. Hindi ganun kasimple yung pagbasa sa poetry. Pero you are going to be, if you send out this poetry to people who think it will hit and it will change people's mind. And when that starts the spark. I just point out ko lang yung poetry book that we came out with, How to Make a Salagubang Helicopter.
I saw that.
In a way na parang siya, di ba? We had Angel Aquino reading this poetry. Pero at the core of it, it's a very anti-Duterte poetry book. I mean, half of attacks this war against drugs, so-called. Kaya talaga naman. Pero pagbasa ng mga tao, oh shit, ito pala kalalim to. Ganun. And then, I know a lot of people have been touched by that kind of poetry. Kasi sabi ko, this one, this will change people's minds. This will sway. Even the fact that this book was published already made people wonder why 67 poets all over the world, Filipino poets, have banded together all these big egoistic people.
Yeah. And it's brave, really brave at this time, no? Na may mga consequences sa mga tao even, no? Pwede kayong balikan after kung hindi man tayo manalo, di ba? Parang yun
ang advantage ng abogado eh. Parang sanay na ako, demanda kayo sa lahat ng sulok ng Pilipinas. I can meet you. Parang sabi ko nga, okay, si Guanzo, demanda nyo ako kahit saan. Ako bahala dyan. That's alam mo, sabi ko nga sa sarili ko. It's probably, after I finished college, I decided I wasn't going full-time into literature. I was going to go to law school. And the person I told it to was Eddie Boy Calasans. And he said, alam mo, anong gagawin mo dyan? Kasi yun talaga. And then I talked to Eric Torres, who was my teacher in poetry.
Eric, bless him, no?
Sabi ni Eric Torres, okay ka dyan. Dyan ka, huwag ka mag-advertising. Dyan ka sa loob. So sabi ko, baka ganun nga nangyari. Because I knew I was gonna come back to this world, and I would come back with a vengeance kasi hindi ako takot sa demanda.
Actual legacy work, no? Parang oo nga na pwede pa rin nga. Ang dami pa sigurong mga contributions na pwede na pagkatapos nito, sir, no?
Yeah, we can easily come up with a second volume, actually. Ang dami ngayong gustong, may mga iba nga nagtatampo ba't hindi sila nakaya. No? Pero well, given the time frame talaga, yun ang problema. But all the more it was remarkable because given 3 weeks, we came up with it. You know? Medyo mahirap gawin yun even for a regular anthology. Ito, isang tanong mo lang. The next day or 2 days later, eto na yung submission. You know?
And if it's God appointed,
we also have to take note nga pala, no, the multilingualism in the book. No?
That's true.
Hindi mo masasabing predominantly English. I think majority, siguro 60% would be in English. But there are almost as much of a number of poems in Filipino. And then there's Cebuano and Bicolano also are represented in the pages. So, Filipino siya. Yung libro.
So it's legacy work too. How can you can answer that? How can it go outside our echo chamber? Parang yung sinasabi, baka tayo lang nag-uusap. How can it reach more?
Well, alam mo, totoo lang, ilalako ko to You know, so I was drawing up interest with it sa Facebook. But when we went to second printing because I don't want na maubusan kami ng kopya.
Yes.
I'm going to the provinces starting February for my town in Mindoro. I'm going to Pola, I'm going to Bulalac. I'm going to bring a lot of copies of these. Marami ako mag-anak na nasa kabilang partido. Sabi ko, pero siguro naman, may tula ako dyan about my grandmother and my grandfather who were victims of sorts of this corruption era. Sabi ko, you know what happened to coconut farmers in Mindoro? They got this coco levy, they got so much money. And what happened to the coco levy fund? You know, it went to UCPB and now nobody could touch it. All these farmers became poor and they borrowed so much. They borrowed a little money from PNB. And what happened to PNB? Lahat ng pera ng PNB. Maraming pera ng PNB ginastos sa Manhattan funding the shopping spree of the former First Lady. And then when they sold PNB, anong ginawa ng bumili? Siyempre, lahat ng cash advances ng mga dubious advances ng former First Family, medyo binalik sa gobyerno, bahala kayo dyan. You know, that's so much an injustice. Kaya nga sabi ko, this is very important to bring these poems and bring the stories of these poems to the people. Kasi you can explain what really happened. And I said earlier, this is jescom.ph, you know. Yeah, the best thing is, you know, poetry is the repository of memory. You remember the poem of Homer, Odyssey? Those are all memorized poetry. And there's no written poetry. So what we know about the history of the old Greece, it's in poetry. And this is what's going to happen to this book, di ba? People will remember what happened here, but just by reading these poems.
Parang ito na yung kapalit ng pulong bahay natin when you were younger. Na tipong binabasa ng mga tao and they're sharing that experience of yun. Yung isang tao, because we're actually like promoting an individual who would represent the best in us. Yun siguro yung kaibahan. Kasi tanggapin man natin o hindi, parang malinaw yung demarcation yung good and evil at this point, yung tama at mali. Pero nablur ngayon dun sa mga tao. Sir, how would you read that whole scenario, Sir Krip? At this point, parang conflicted pa yung mga tao when in fact, tayong dumaan ng filosofiya at teolohiya, malinaw yung tama at mali.
You know, I might suggest, or I might say, if the possibility arises, kung gusto nyo, madali rin kami makagawa ng anthology of black poetry, you know, about the Marcoses. If I issue a call worldwide, baka hindi lang 67 poets at hindi lang 100 poems.
I'll publish it.
Marvin, ayan na naman. Dapat din natin sabi kasi at this point, the more that we talk about them again, parang the more they're being promoted.
Parang bakit pa no? But ang
Yes.
predecessor ng konti, in a way, nitong nga pala, no? Pakita naman natin.
Oo nga.
Yung
true.
predecessor
Ganda
nito,
pa nga.
2-3 years ago, we edited an anthology called Bloodlust. No? Protest poems from Marcos Duterte. That also sold out 1,000 copies in about 6-7 months. No? In fact, there was a move to issue a second edition kasi madaming gustong sumali. And I'm still collecting the poems. Pwede pang gawin yan ng Bloodlust 2. That was really protest poetry. This is inspirational poetry.
That's true.
Led by our inspiration, Lenny Robredo.
That's true.
As Emmanuel said kanina, yung range of poems here, merong mga personal, merong mga metaphorical, merong abstract, merong iba, 2 or 3 at least, write poems that are really more about or mention Jesse Robredo.
Yeah.
Na kapartner ni Lenny. So, madaming angles, madaming perspectives ang nilalabas. That's the beauty of poetry. Kanya-kanyang sourcing yan
Tsaka iwas libel, di ba? Pag poetry, may literary license ka, kaya alam ni Marvin yun. So, but, kaya man, kunyari, Lenny na nanay ng yun, ng mga anak niya at ng bansa, Lenny na babae, Lenny na lingkod bayan. Parang all these things are represented, I guess, in that book, no? But did you ever have this notion na hindi na lang Lenny na ganyan, pero Lenny bilang presidente? Did it have a foreshadowing that yes, we will win this? Or ito pa lang yung inching her way to the presidency? Dito ba parang inisip niyo na magiging presidente siya, or ito yung pagtulong pa lang sa kanya papuntang? Have you claimed it already?
I've claimed it. I've claimed it since last year when we released Servant Leader Lenny Robredo. Sabi ko, language is performative. Language has that power of making things happen. Before it becomes reality, it has to come from your mind. You have to speak it. Kasi sabi ko, last year pa lang, Lenny will become president easily. I'm pretty sure. And yesterday I was saying, the Philippine system self-corrects. Every time we have a bad president, a new president comes in. Sabi ko, we will self-correct in these elections. So I know she's going to be president. In May. I'm pretty sure.
In God's autocorrect system also, no? Yeah. Sana talaga. Emman, what do you think? Well, here ba nag-ingat ka pa or naging mas matapang ka?
Kung ang ibig mong sabihin ay yung sa sarili kong tula, palagay ko hindi ko naman tinitimbang ang sarili ko ba yung naging matapang o duwag kapag ako ay tumutula So yung pagtula ay pagtula lang yan Pero kung ang tinatanong mo ay yung tungkol sa kabuuan ng libro, kung naging matapang ba yung mga akda doon, palagay ko ay hindi maipagkakailang punong-puno ng tapang ang mga akda doon. Sinabi mo kanina, meron bang tula doon na parang may foreshadowing na magiging presidente si Ma'am Lenny? Ang naisip ko agad yung tula ni Merly Alunan, yung title pa lang nandoon na. Babasahin ko lang. Kahit yung title lang.
Sige. Kasi, di ba parang...
The river goddess of San Joaquin speaks to Lenny, our president to be. After Typhoon Odette.
Totoo Bago simula ng eleksyon, sinasabi natin, sana manalo siya. But when I saw the kick-off, yung proclamation, sabi, yung sinabi niyang, sige, tara na, ipanalo natin to. Parang nakita natin na, kaya natin siyang ipanalo. So, on all fronts, art has become so parang non-essential during the government now, no? So, actually, wala nga ayuda Sir Krip, di ba? Yung mga artists, kaya parang naghirap din during this pandemic, no? So,
let me just correct that, Noel.
Yes.
Hindi ako kasi si Direct Nick Lisaso.
Okay.
I think meron naman siyang effort for that.
As a CPC siguro, pero
Yeah.
Pero kasi then hindi rin ganun ka-organisado yung art community, no? Or parang hindi rin kasi nabigyan ng ganong tuon. So in the new administration, anong suporta sa arts and culture ang ini-expect nyo sana para mapabuti naman yung kalagayan natin bilang yun, cultural artistic workers?
Sino sasagot?
That's the next step.
Iba yung sagot ko dyan.
Actually, ang gagawin natin, one of the things that we'll do on the 14th when we launch this is to present a cultural or artistic agenda to her. So that kasi wala pang nagko-cover.
Let me just, I have a few answers. But before I do that, pakita ko lang sa iyo kung gaano katapang yung mga tula dito. Yung isang title that.
Okay.
Yan.
Tangin mo. Galing naman. Okay.
Nakilakutob yan. So ganyan katapang yan, title pa lang.
Pero salamat na rin lang, hindi siya na aprubahan para tumakbo sa party list, no? With
pero to go back, ako basically, the medyo well-entrenched program ng gobyerno, even before this administration, yung sa NCCA and then with the CCP. And also, merong regional pagbaba sa region yan. But there are questions that I have noon. For example, the choice of national artists. Parang may mga nasisingit kasi, parang nawawala ng integrity yung process. And the promise of the president is there will be this government. The promise of the vice president is that her government will be a very trustworthy government. So, yun ang unang inaasahan ko na hindi pakikialma ng politika yung pagpili sa mga ganyang bagay. Marami kasi dyan, alam naman natin, palangasan, kung sino magsisingit ng pangalan doon sa mga napipirma, nilalagay. Although, nakalagay sa batas yung paano susi yung proseso. So, I will believe that will be a very trustworthy process with the VP coming in. And then, more or less, isa pang gusto ko sana is that subsidy is good. They put more subsidies to starving artists, to people who need the subsidies. But you love the artistry, you know. May mga ano kasi, bibigyan ka subsidy pero hindi ka pwedeng tumira sa gobyerno. Wala, mali yun, di ba? Parang matatakot yung artist kasi may stipend siya. Pag nagsalita siya sa gobyerno, mawawala yung stipend niya. Walang ganun. The artist is the place where freedom should be completely given. Kahit na hindi siya matatakot na pag nagsalita siya, mawawalan siya ng stipend or iipitin. I'm not saying it's happening now. I'm saying the promise of the vice president is that there's going to be transparency in this government. And also competence. You know, we all know what happened to some organizations in the art scene.
Yes.
Some city assessor became executive director.
That's
parang
true.
Layo nang nalalaman niya sa trabaho niya.
Diba? Parang ang tingin sa culture and the arts kasama ng tourism. Yun yung di ba? Doon sa mga city councils.
Our national librarian is not a librarian. It's not a licensed librarian. That's
true
too. That's so.
Basically, I think the promise that we can hope for, President Lenny, would be regarding art, no? Basically to assure freedom. Yun lang.
That's true. Freedom. That's true.
Wala na anything beyond that, gravy na yan. Like, we don't expect her to appoint 3 poets sa COMELEC, no? Ganyan.
Yeah.
Although that would be nice, di ba, Marvin?
Could draft
if that happens, at least gaganda yung English sa COMELEC.
Gaganda yung English at saka mabilis, Marvin.
Malinis, logical, walang masyadong sa opisina ko, pag gumamit ka ng adjective tsaka adverb, may bayad kang piso.
Alis ka na agad.
Oo, dapat gano'n eh. Magandang,
not to mention the logic.
And the logic is very important. Diba?
The logic and then the urgency also. Hindi mo patatagalin. Kasi kailangan talaga. So it's that, no? The cultural agenda is very important. Kasi ang tingin na ngayon parang pinatahimik yung mga tao. Yung takot, the culture of fear is there also. Because even media at this point, mainstream media at this point, hindi lang ingat, parang nagtakot magtanong ng tunay na mga tanong. Kasi
mawawala ng red tagging, definitely.
Yes.
That's true. That's
Pink
true.
tagging na, pink tagging, gano'n.
At this point, no, sir. So that's one of the things. But ito, ito yung nakakaiyak na tanong. Are you ready to lose, sir? At this point, given the whole scenario, nakita nyo ba yung with you writing this book, feeling ko panalo naman na tayo kasi parang it's such a feat coming out with a book like this. But in the elections, well, I've talked to people na kasama namin sa kampanya doon sa kick-off rally namin. They have exit plans already pag hindi nanalo.
Umiyak.
Sir Krip,
Umiyak, maglasing.
or ito, sir, the consolation that art thrives during oppression, no?
Yeah, it's really highly possible. Sa akin, touch and go for now. Nung nag-umpisa yung movement kay Lenny, I was so sure, imposibleng matalo. But of course, given the kalaban and the wherewithal that they have, but beyond that, ang fear ko, yung parang yung age of disruption is still upon us globally.
That's true.
Parang mahirap makita na tayo yung mag-end ng age of disruption in terms of ending an autocratic rule in favor of parang nung si Cory nung kay McCoy, na sumunod yung Berlin Wall and all that. Yeah. But now, with the Russia-Ukraine problem, the weaknesses in the States, even the truck protests in Canada, tuloy-tuloy pa rin yung age of disruption na and age of populism and parang yun ang kalaban I don't know.
Yes.
It's such a formidable challenge, pero ipanalo pa rin natin to.
Correct, ipanalo at parang every little thing that we do now counts. Plus kaya yun nga parang any source of hope and any source of optimism at tapang siguro helps. Yes, Marv.
Ako, pasensya na, baka maging toxic positivity to. Pero I really think it's gonna happen. I really think she's going to win.
It has.
And every sign that I see on the street, this morning I had several meetings. Mga pink lahat yan, hindi ko sila kilala. We're all talking about Lenny Robredo. The other day, ito nga ang chismis, but siguro hindi rin chismis. I came from a hearing in Tarlac. So, tumigil ako dyan sa NDEX, doon sa Tabang, sa Shell. Hanggang 4 o'clock. Hindi ko maalam na kung anong nangyayari doon sa Philippine Arena. Una-una, walang traffic. So, and then, I was riding my red Innova. Ang baba ko, may nakapit sa akin, mga lalaki, sabi, boss, nakuha niyo na ba yung bayad? May namimigay na po . Sabi ko, ha? Anong mali ko dyan? Hindi ko alam. So, it turns out, syempre, pag nakapula ka pala, may bayad. No? But true. Even then, of course, I don't know if you were there in the U2 concert, nung punong-puno yung Philippine Arena. Grabe ang traffic nun. As in, people were parking in NLEX and it was impossible also to leave. Noong araw na yon, walang tao sa NLEX. Konti, walang traffic. What does that mean?
They were buzzed in.
Walang tao.
Talaga? Or they were buzzed in, tapos nakaayos na.
Yes. Pero ibig sabihin, hindi yung, when you go to Naga, hindi mo hinakot sa mga tao sa Naga, di ba? They just went there. It's all voluntary.
Well, at mainit talaga, mainit sa labas kasi ito an outdoor thing.
Ito, we see, of course, hindi rin tayo makarelay. Kita mo sa YouTube, meron palang bigay na kahon. Di ba? Kinapay. Sabi ko, bakit ganun dyan? Ganyan pala kaya. Sabi ko nga, pag nakapula ka pala, meron ka nakakagad bayad. Di ba? So what does that mean?
Yun, pareho mo, hindi ako handang matalo. Yun parang, that's why I'm so invested in this, na tipong kasalanan na natin pag di natin siya naipanalo. Parang ganun.
Hindi, meron akong hula. It will not take more than a year. May ma-overdose. Hula ko yan. Sobrang sarap ng buhay. Yung ma-overdose. Okay. Tapos.
Nawa. Emman, ikaw, what's your reading in all these? Bakit ka tumataya dito ngayon?
Syempre, because si Lenny,
si Lenny ay aayusin ng yung internet signal, no?
In a lifetime. Maybe 2 lifetimes pa nga. Hindi pa tayo nakakakita ng isang kandidato pa nga lamang na katulad niya. Diba? Very inspiring, totoong-totoo, nakaapak sa lupa, lahat ng sinasabi niya may katuturan, walang pangakong hindi walang pangakong binibigas para mangako lang. Saan ka makakita ng ganong leader? Kapag ka ito pinakawalan pa ng bayang Pilipinas, hindi ko na lang alam.
Kasalanan na natin.
Hindi ko alam.
Oo,
Hindi ko na alam kung anong masasabi pa para magising ang mga Pilipino.
Kawawa
Ito na,
talaga.
binibigyan ka na ng napakasarap na pagkain. Ito na, inihahanda, binibigay na sa iyo. Tatanggi ka pa ba? Pupunta ka pa ba sa basurahan para kumuha ng magharap doon ng iyong kakainin? Hindi, ito na, binibigay na sa iyo, nasa platong maganda na. Kapag ka ang Pilipino hindi pa nagising, ewan ko na lang.
At kung magpapatuloy ka raw ng isang tao sa bahay mo, di lang yun, kasama sa bahay at mamumuno sa bahay mo, hindi ka na magpapatuloy ng taong magnanakaw. Parang magnanakawan ka. Pero parang it seems like it's all a twisted mindset at this point na or hindi lang ba nag-iingay yung mga tao?
Yeah, kapag ka hindi nanalo si Lenny, hindi lang ako malulungkot dahil hindi siya nanalo. Malulungkot ako dahil hindi siya pinili ng Pilipino. Parang hindi nagising yung tao sa katotohanan na siya ang pinakamagaling at siya yung tamang kailangan ng bayan sa panahong ito.
Sa panahon, that's true.
Parang malulungkot ako kasi parang hindi nagkaroon ng paggising yung tao sa kalagayan ng lipunan at sa sarili nilang kalagayan. Doon yung mas nakakalungkot eh.
Nice the way you put it. But sir, it took you a lot of years before you got over a dictator. You think we're ready for this? Tataya ba yung mga tao, Sir Krip?
The hope is there. No? The hope is strong.
Yes.
The dream is even stronger. Pag hindi nangyari, kawawa yung susunod na henerasyon eh. Ang dami. Hindi lang 6 years yan eh. Tutuloy-tuloy yan eh. Another 12 at the very least, no? Before we get another chance. By that time, wala na kami. Alam mo, yung meron akong Viber group na mga our San Beda high school class.
But thank you for your school. Thank you for your school for taking a stand.
Of 1960.
Yeah.
So we're all in our late 70s.
Yeah.
To a man, we're all for Lenny. There's only one exception. Because he was a military general assigned by Davao. Siya lang yung nag-proclaim kay BBM. He's become very silent in our Viber group. No? Pero all of us, talagang parang, all of us participated in EDSA.
Yes.
And naisip mo, pag 60 ka na, 70 ka na, wow, dinaanan na natin yan eh. Meron na naman, challenge na naman.
Totoo yun.
Praktisado na tayo, okay, gawin natin uli. Kaya parang nakakapanghinayang pag hindi mangyari. So,
parang yung libro nyo ay catharsis din of sorts. At least, nailabas nyo yung gusto nyong sabihin. And Marvin, ito na. Well, let's get people excited about the book. I'm actually excited. It's the reason why tinawagan ko si Boyet at sabi ko, Boyet, we have this activity. At nagtiyap-tiyap, sabi nga daw, pag madulas, pag magaan, it's really God appointed too. No? So I saw that post about the book and I said it might be good to launch it on Valentine's Day. And you really intended to have it on Valentine's Day.
Yeah.
And now, we're doing it on Monday and it's a good gathering. At sabi, pusuan mo, yung sinabi na title ng activity, pusuan mo ang sining at kultura. State of the art, parang ganun yung ano. So it's happening on Monday and we're launching it with VP Lenny there, receiving the book and then reacting to all your poetry. Well, this is really just God appointed. Marvs, can you invite people to how can they order pa books now that it's sold out?
All right. No, we've allocated the books. So some copies are with bookmark. You can order from their Shopee account in bookmark. We've given copies to Solidaridad Bookshop. Punta kayo doon sa Salceda. And then you can go to San Anselmo Press Facebook page. At any time of the day, kahit midnight, kahit madaling araw, may sasabit po sa inyo doon. And you can order for the second printing, which will come out also on February 25. Kung naman sa mga nauna bumili, we're releasing that already. My staff is going on overtime to be able to send that out before February 14.
Very good. Sir, well, invite the people and then excite them about, well, the possibilities with this book. Because yet I said it's catharsis of sorts. It's a journal or parang a mark of history at this point na kailangan nilang mabasa. Yes, Sir Krip.
Well, we begin now with the launch presentation on Monday, on Valentine's Day. So as poets, we'll be happy to participate in any assembly with other creatives. I understand that the visual artists will also be there, and musical performers, entertainers. Almost to a man talaga, or 90%, I'd say, of creatives are really for Leni Robredo. For her, as well as for the greater cause of the future of our country. We're only too happy to have her be the representative of hope, and the inspiration for this movement, the pink movement, the pink revolution. We hope. Hindi lang tayo dapat manalo, dapat tayo magwagi. Yan.
Dapat tayo magwagi. At dapat tayo mismo aktibong participants doon sa pagwawagi na yon, sir. Kasi grabe yung taya natin dito kasi. Yun nga. Pag hindi pa to nangyari, kailan pa? Matanda na tayo, Emman. So, Emman, invite people and excite them about this book, which is a handiwork for 3 weeks, you said?
Yeah. Napakaganda ng librong ito. Hindi lang maganda yung pabalat, pati yung laman maganda. So, kapag nagkaroon ka ng kopya niyan, it's, anong tawag dyan? Magiging collector's item yan at some point in time. So, I hope everyone takes the time to get a copy of the book. Pinaliwanag ni Marvin kanina kung paano, and to read it and to draw some inspiration from it. At yun, ipanalo natin si Leni.
It's all part of history already. It's the first book coming out, first creative, even literary book that's coming out even before she wins as president. Marv's ending. What's the scenario like in the coming elections? What do you think? At saka paano ka mababago nito?
There's in the book Servant Leader Leni Robredo, may essay doon si Bamakina, Senator Bamakina, yung from 1% to Vice President.
Yeah.
Which means kaya tong ipanalo. And then ito yung kami ni Krip, mahilig kami sa basketball yung NBA game to. Hanggang huling segundo, pwedeng manalo. And VP Leni proved that it could be done in the 2016 elections. And it
come from behind.
Come from behind. I'm listening to people say, masyado ba? Hindi ka ako kasi isang malaking magandang trait ni VP Leni. Napakasipag nung ali. Imagine, binabay-bay na bawat bayan, isa-isa. Tapos pagdating ng gabi, may Facebook Live pa. Yung kalaban, nandun siguro sisinggot-singgot sa kusina. They're not gonna do it. Why? Sa haba nitong election na to, every day counts and our leader is actually making it count every second. Okay. I'm positive about it.
And we saw that during calamities and during COVID, di ba? Parang, yun talaga. Even before the elections, we knew she was working.
Dito kasi sa politics, kahit sa Facebook, inaaway-away na, pag yan nilapitan mo at kinamayan, magbabago yung perspective niyan yung presidente natin, yung lumatakbong presidente para sa atin, ganun ang ginagawa Nilalapitan na lahat. Siguro malilibot na po yung Pilipinas in this 90 days.
Totoo yan. Kaya niya yun. At gusto niya yun. At ito pa, Marv, hindi niya yung decision kung saan siya pupunta. Oo, merong science yun. Yung pupunta ka sa vote-rich towns and mga cities. Pero meron siyang mga side trips na talagang pupunta siya sa mga tao na talagang magtataka ka bakit. Pero in the end, yung sarap lang sa kaluluwa mo. Parang it's really good for the soul na which is really iba.
And she's spiritually prepared for it. I mean, to have this energy, you gotta have the proper spiritual perspective and grace. You see her, she talks, and she's Kasi kung hindi totoo yung mga sinasabi niya, sa paulit-ulit, magsasabi ng mali, magkakamali na tungkol sa ganito. Pero wala kang makitang ganun. I mean, you know, physically she can do it, spiritually she's ready for it.
And the consistency, of action, of praxis and praxis and prayers. So yun siguro. Emman, we'll end with Sir Krip. Ikaw para kang, there's a certain sense of Lenny na tahimik, pero in the end, yun parang yung bawat salitang lalabas, maayos pinag-isipan at mapapangatawanan. Parang ikaw, what is this fight? What does this fight mean? At ano magiging epekto nito sa'yo? Will you be recluse if we don't win it? Parang gano'n? Or ano yung epekto nito sa pagkatao mo at this point? Because we're all in, lalo na si Sir Krip, no? Parang we're in legacy work already.
Yeah. Ngayon lang ako openly nakampanya para sa isang kandidato. At hindi ko to pagsisisihan. Kahit na ano ang kalabasan ng eleksyon na to, hindi ko to pagsisisihan. At ipagmamalaki ko pa nga na ikinampanya ko si Leni Robredo sa aking maliit na paraan. So, anong magiging epekto nito? Hindi ko alam. Pero alam ko na magiging maganda ang epekto nito sa akin. Ano man yun.
Ay, nako.
Ang panalangin ko lang ay sana nga manalo siya at gusto ko lang i-connect doon sa sinasabi ni Mr. Krip kanina na parang magulo yung mundo ngayon. Kapag ka nanalo si Lenny, baka hudyat na yan ng pagbabago ng buong mundo. Just like what happened in the 1986 EDSA revolution. So here's I'm hoping for that.
At double-edge yung sinasabing gagaling tayo. There's some gagaling huhusay, tapos gagaling tayo will get healed. Sir Krip, take the last words. This is legacy work for you, no? Parang ang hirap lang tingnan na tipong dinadaanan niyo ulit yung dinaanan niyo dati, but it's coming. It's here.
Parang hindi maaring matalo eh. Parang hindi pwede. May isang tula rito, no? Yung isang contributor natin, pinakamadaming poems dito, si Abdon Balde Jr.
Yes.
Plano yan, no? Halos araw-araw tumutulayan para kay Leni Robredo. 8 lang ang pinayagan namin makapasok. Ang dami na nga niya. Isa sa mga tula niyan, tandaan ko, si Leni ay naninindigan.
That's true.
Yun ang inspirational doon sa libro. Lahat din tayo dapat manindigan. Hanggang magwagi na nga.
Kasi sir, ngayon ang tumahimik, kasalanan ngayon yung tumahimik.
Sabi nga niya mismo, no, ni Vice Lenny, no, ipanalo na natin ito.
That's true. And as I said, Marvs, panalo na kayo rito, Sir Krip at saka Emman, kasi parang to have come up with a book that soon and that urgently, at this time, is already a feat. And then the movement, ako talaga yung people's initiatives.
Babaluhin pa namin yung inauguration issue.
Oo nga, pero
we have to get that volume.
Ilabutan din ako when people in Bicol were saying we're addressing her as the first Bicolana president. Kasi never pa pala silang nagkaroon ng presidente. At second, mas malaki pala yung Bicol sa Ilocos. So, yun lang. Parang sana naging point of triumph din. And inspiration and hope for all of us. But thank you very much, Marvin. Thank you, Emman. And thank you, sir. I'll see you on Monday.
Salamat, Noel.
It got a point that we'll all see each other and then support each other. In trying to honor a lady that's an extension of our goodness and our excellence too. Maraming salamat and more power to the book. I'll be supporting it and we'll be supporting the cause. Maraming salamat and we'll continue to level up. Maraming salamat po. Thank you, sir. Galing. Sarap lang ng kaluluwa.
Thank you.
Kakainis lang na dito na naman tayo sa sitwasyon na to.
man pagbuhos ng ulan, ang buhay sadyang ganyan.
At kaya ng pabago-bagong pag-ihip ng hangin, lahat ay lilipas at magsasalita.
Huwag kang mabahala, huwag mataranta, hindi kailangan ang mag-alilangan pa.
Isipin mo laging nandito lamang ang aking balikat, sa'yo'y nakaabang.
Asahan mo, hindi ka iiwan sa mundo. Lahat may hangganan, asahan mo. Wala nang atrasan sa iyong bawat hakbang na pupuntahan. Pangako kailanman, agad akong nandyan. Sang tawag mo
Tuwing nagdidilim ang langit, di ba't nagpapakita ang buwan hanggang mag-umaga na naman.
Tara't hintayin na natin sikat ng iyong araw hanggang sa magliwanag muli ang lahat. Asahan mo, hindi ka iiwan sa mundo. Lahat may hangganan, asahan mo. Wala nang atrasan sa iyong bawat hakbang na pupuntahan. Pangako kailanman, agad akong nandyan, sa tawag mo. Asahan mo, hindi ka iiwan sa mundo. Lahat may hangganan, asahan mo. Wala nang atrasan sa iyong bawat hakbang na pupuntahan. Pangako kailanman, agad akong nandyan. Sang tawag mo lang. Sang tawag mo
Mga katipuneros, it's time to level up! Your talk variety program showcasing the best in media and other fields. As we feature the most loved personalities and the best practices of what we truly refer to as Magis. Together with multi-awarded multimedia guru Mr. Noel Ferrer, let's all level up every Friday from 3 to 6 p.m. here on Radyo Katipunan 87.9 FM.